What is your name, please?
My name is J. Silverman.
My name is J. Silverman.
My name is J. Silverman.
Only one of these gentlemen is the real J. Silverman. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, Orson Bean, Bess Myerson, plus 100 members of our studio audience on To Tell the Truth. To Tell the Truth is brought to you tonight by the W.A. Schaefer Pen Company, makers of the new Schaefer Dollar Ballpoint and Joy Writer pens. And now here's our host on To Tell the Truth, Bob Collier.
Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good evening, panel.
Good evening.
You're bright and beautiful and chipper. Bess is with us again tonight while Kitty is on a tour with the Metropolitan Opera. And again tonight, we're going to give that group of 100 people in our studio audience a chance to vote electronically each time we play a game on To Tell the Truth. So, audience, stay alert and get those voting buttons ready. Panel, if you will please open your envelope and follow along as I read. I, J. Silverman, am a college student and one of the originators of a brand new concept in the rental business, Proxy pickets. For a base price of $17 per marching hour, we will supply 5 demonstrators who will effectively express our client's position on almost any subject. Our motto is, let Proxy pickets do the walking for you. By using our service, an organization can avoid the trouble of making arrangements with the local police and eliminate the expense of transporting, feeding, and lodging its own pickets. While we will demonstrate on either side of almost any question, we do have a few simple rules. Proxy pickets will not march for a communist organization, nor will it ever resort to violence. Signed, J. Silverman. Very well, panel. These 3 gentlemen all claim to be J. Silverman. We'll start the questioning with the star of the Broadway hit musical show, Ilya Darling. Orson Bean.
Bless you, buddy. Well, where will it ever end? It seems like everybody seems to be picketing or protesting something these days. I see where the Armenian chicken kissers of America are protesting the use of asphalt tile. I didn't want to go into details. This is a family show. But number one, do you charge more for bearded pickets?
Well, it depends on how difficult they are to get at the time.
Yeah, well, bearded pickets must be pretty easy to get because most picket lines seem to have a lot of beards on them. Number 3, do you know of an outfit that will rent you people to make your party look better? You know, suppose you're going to give a party and you don't have any friends. This guy will load up your apartment.
You mean to get people for a party or for a picket march?
No, for the party.
Oh, for a party? No, I don't. Do you?
It's for out-of-work pickets, I guess.
Bess Myerson.
It's a new business Orson is thinking of starting. Number 2, have you ever been arrested?
No, we have not.
Number 1, when you say you don't have to make arrangements with the police, what does that mean?
We do have to make arrangements. We just call them up.
You do yourself instead
Oh, yes,
of the
we
client.
must do that.
I see. And number 3, what's the most amusing picket line you've ever had to picket line on?
It would be a picket line that I've picketed myself. Our organization is starting on Friday.
You're not in business
They're
yet.
brand.
We are in business, but our first job is on Friday.
I see. And what is that going to be? Up?
Tom Poston.
Is that true, number 2? You've never been in jail because you've never been on a picket line?
That's right. Well, I myself have marched, yes. But our first job is next Friday.
Your heart was in it before. Now your money, right?
That's right.
Number 1, this seems to be the end result of something. Will you really picket on both sides of any given question?
Sure will.
And number 1, do you have strong personal feelings about things you'd be willing to either picket for or lend some of your help, charge less to picket for?
We're in business to make money.
Well, you really didn't answer my question. Number 3, would you send your pickets to march on a subject you felt strongly about without charging?
We try not to let our personal feelings interfere with the business.
I think it's terrific.
Peggy Cass.
Number 2, I suppose the pickets work for you, so how much percentage do you get of their paycheck?
We'll pay them about $1.50 an hour.
And how much do you keep?
Just about the same, although we have some expenses, for placards and things,
I see. Well, they didn't look like very expensive placards to me. Number 3, if people cross your picket line, you're going to yell at them, what are you doing, crossing my picket line? Are you going to do that stuff?
Well, it depends who crosses.
Well, if anybody crosses, right?
Well, it depends on what we're picketing for.
Oh, I see. Well, number 1, do you recommend any special kind of footwear for this work?
I'm afraid that's all the time we have, Peggy. So all of you panel, please mark your ballots without consultation. Our team of challengers will, of course, receive $250 for each and every incorrect vote. And while you're voting, panel, it's time for the studio audience to vote. On the voting machines in front of each of you, there are 3 buttons. When I say vote, select number 1, number 2, or number 3. Are you ready? Vote. Very well, your votes have been registered. Now let's see how our panel voted. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 2. It's almost Marxist in its efficiency. the idea of having free enterprise getting together with picketing and protesting, I love it. Make a little money while you're protesting.
Peggy Cass.
Well, number 3 looks like F. Scott Fitzgerald, so I couldn't vote for him. Number 2 looks as though he'd really picket and mean it, like at Central Park. But number 1 has a very jolly look of a businessman, so I voted for him.
Orson Bean.
Number 3 looks like F. Scott
Look at that
Fitzgerald.
collar.
Well, what if he does? It could be a...
He'd never picket F. Scott Fitzgerald.
I hadn't thought of it that way. Gertrude Stein used to walk a lot, though. And I voted for number 1. I think he looks like he has a sense of humor, and it may not be mandatory, but it may help when they carry him away as he laughs hideously.
Bess Myerson.
Well, I voted for number 2. I thought number 3 looked a little staid for this kind of enterprise, and number 1, not quite bold enough. Number 2 was creative enough, though, to get my vote.
Very well, there we have it, the way the panel voted. Now let's find out who got the most votes from our studio audience. Our audience voted for number 1. So let's find out which of these 3 gentlemen, in truth, is J. Silverman. Will the real J. Silverman please stand up? Thank you, sir. And you were successful in fooling our studio audience, or most of them, so that's another incorrect vote. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Michael Ketcher, and I'm a law student at Columbia University.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is Jonathan Burroughs, and I'm an assistant stage director with the New York City Opera. And aren't you related to Paul Alter, our director? Yes, he's my uncle.
He's your uncle. Checking the score, gentlemen, we find that there are 2 incorrect votes from our panel and 1 from the studio audience. That's 3 times $250 or $750. And we thank you very much for being with us. Hope you had fun. Goodbye and God bless you. We'll meet our next team of challengers in just a minute, right after this message. And now let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Vladimir Kazan.
My name is Vladimir Kazan.
My name is Vladimir Kazan.
Follow along with your copies of this one, if you will, panel. I, Vladimir Kazan, was born in Czechoslovakia. I am now an American citizen. I make my living in this country as a travel agent. Last October, I was invited by Intourist, the Soviet travel organization, to visit Russia on a familiarization trip. During the return flight, the Soviet airliner was diverted and made an unscheduled stop in Prague, Czechoslovakia, specifically so that I could be arrested by the Czech authorities. I was jailed and forced to stand trial for so-called anti-state actions committed 16 years ago when I was a member of the Free Czech Underground. I was sentenced to 8 years in prison. After serving only 3 months, I was released. I owe my freedom to the intercession of the travel industry, the United States Department of State, and the senior senator from Massachusetts, Edward Kennedy. Signed, Vladimir Kazan. Panel, these three gentlemen all claim to be Vladimir Kazan. We'll start the cross-examination this time with Bess Myerson. Bess?
Thank you, Bud. Number one, was there a trial in Czechoslovakia?
Yes.
Were you permitted to have any legal counsel?
I was assigned a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. And what was your defense?
My defense was that on certain charges, I have admitted them, so there was actually no defense. Since the evidence was too big. On other charges, I have denied them and let them try to prove it.
Number two, were you guilty of any of the charges that were made against you?
Partly.
Mm-hmm. And number three, how did Senator Kennedy intercept? I mean, who contacted, who communicated with him?
My wife did communicate with him
Where does she live?
in Boston.
Tom Poston.
That's right. Was this number two? Do you think this thing was all rigged? Your whole initial invitation by the Russians and so forth was all rigged so that they could make that non-scheduled stop in Czechoslovakia and have you arrested?
I don't think so.
Well, number one then. No, number three, how did it happen?
I believe they wanted to get some vital information about the possible infiltration of the higher circles. And they thought I had some news about it.
Thank you. Number one, 16 years ago, you were going to be au courant with what was going on in the Czech underground?
I was 24 years old.
And you think that you would have, do you have information now that they could use?
I believe so.
Oh, good. Let's have it, number two. Do you, number two?
Yes, I...
Does a man named Sebo have anything to do with your organization?
No, but a lovely lady named Peggy Cass does. Peggy?
Thank you. Number one, would you still recommend the tourist visit Czechoslovakia?
Yes?
You don't think this would happen to anybody else? What happened to you?
Well, if there's another Vladimir Kazan, it would probably...
Well, I see. Number three, how did they find out? I mean, if it wasn't all rigged when you left, how did they find out while you were in Russia that you were the same person? I mean, how were you discovered?
They have ways of knowing, and they started already in Moscow in provoking some incidents.
Oh, thank
and
you.
They started getting ideas.
Number three, where are you from specifically in Boston?
Number three?
Number three. Where are you from? You said Boston. Where specifically?
In Wellesley, Massachusetts.
And number two, are you also from Boston?
That's right.
Orson Bean.
Number two, when you were in Moscow, do you agree with three that the incidents were provoked? Whatever that means, I'm asking two if he agrees with three.
Well, making sort of ex post analysis, I would say yes.
Yeah? You didn't realize it at the time, though?
No, sir.
What happened? Briefly.
Well, there was this beautiful blonde.
Yes. Go on, number two. Don't leave out any of the details now. We're on at 10 o'clock, and you can tell all. What?
Well, there were some indications, looking back at it. That
Yeah. Well, all right, you can tell me later. Number one, did you realize until the plane landed in Prague, was it Prague, that was going to happen? Did you
Well,
have a clue?
I knew that there's something fishy because we changed the course and we started to circle around the familiar territory.
Number three, did you...
That's all the time we have, I'm sorry to say, exciting as it is. So it's time to vote once more, without any consultation, of course. Please mark your ballots, and while you're doing it, it's time for the studio audience to vote. Again, audience, when I say vote, select number one, number two, or number three. Are you ready? Vote! So, your votes have been registered, and now we'll find out how our panel voted. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number two. He doesn't look like the typical picture that we might have of a swashbuckling undercover agent, but he certainly looks like a man who is dedicated to an idea and committed to that and would work hard for it. I think he's number two.
Peggy.
Well, I didn't vote for number 2 because his wife is certainly going to be watching this program, and he's not going to mention a beautiful blonde if she's watching. So I voted for number 3, very serious type.
Orson Bean.
I voted for number 1. I think he had the ring of truth as he told the story, and glad he got out of it. That's a spy's outfit, a bomb and a hat.
Oh, I see. A spy 1. Yes, of course.
Sorry, it's not one of my great...
Bess Myerson.
Well, but I voted for number 1 as well. I thought there's something very strong about him. I think that he'd be able to keep secrets under duress, and he has my vote.
All right, let's find out who got the most votes from our studio audience. Our audience voted for number 3. So, let's learn now which of these 3 gentlemen is Vladimir Kazan. Will the real Vladimir Kazan please stand up?
It's 2.
Well, you fooled our studio audience. Most of them. That's another incorrect vote, therefore. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Peter Kramarik, and I'm a corporation lawyer.
Thank you, sir. And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
My real name is Oğuz Türkan. I'm president of a computer training franchise organization called LFI Systems Corporation.
Thank you. Bess would like to ask you something. Bess?
No, Mr. Kazan, I'm just curious now. Peggy brought it up. Was there really a blonde?
Yes, there was.
What happened?
Well, I think that...
He'll tell you later.
She tried to provoke a little incident.
Boy, here's a born diplomat if I ever heard one. Well, gentlemen, in checking the score, we find you did very well. There were 1, 2, 3 incorrect votes from our panel and 1 from the studio audience. That's 4 incorrect votes at $250 each, total of $1,000, gentlemen. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye, and God bless you. We'll be back with our next team and play another game in a minute. But now, listen to this. Very well, let's meet our 3rd team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Piery Hollis. My name is Piery Hollis.
My name is Piery Hollis.
Once again, follow along while I read, if you will, panel. I, Piery Hollis, have just written a go-go guide to the gayest city in the world, London, England. Written for the jet generation, my mod manual is designed to answer the question, where's the action and how do I get in it? Readers of my book will learn all they need to know about the boutiques, discotheques, gaming parlors, strip clubs, pubs, hotels, and restaurants that make London the most switched-on city in the world. Mine is probably the only guidebook ever written about the city on the Thames that gives no information on cathedrals, museums, or the Tower of London. I call it A Swinger's Guide to London. Signed, Piery Hollis. Very well, panel. These 3 young ladies all claim to be Piery Hollis. We'll start with Peggy Cass. Peggy?
Thank you. Number 2, what is Annabelle's?
Annabelle's is a gambling place with a nightclub atmosphere.
Thank you. Number 3, what is King's Row?
It's a street in Chelsea.
Thank you. Number 1, what is Crockford's?
That's a gaming house.
Gee, it seems to be, I'm a little heavy on those. Number 3, what's the River Club?
The River Club?
Yes.
It's in Manhattan.
Thank you. Number 2, what is the Grenadier?
The Grenadier is a most fashionable pub.
Thank you. And number 1, what is the White Elephant and what kind of people go there?
Well, the White Elephant is a showbiz club for people to have lunch at.
Thank you.
Orson Bean.
Number 1, London seems to set the world styles now for young people, the way Paris used to. Are the short skirts going to stay in indefinitely, or what's happening?
Oh, I think so.
I hope so, by George. Well, number 3, I've heard that the skirts are going to be very long. Paris is trying to push long skirts, but way below the knees and high boots, so you only see about 1 inch of leg.
Well, that's Paris's problem.
Yeah? All right. Number 2, if I wanted to go and see a striptease show in London, how late in the day would I have to wait?
Till, I think it's 11:30 at night.
11:30 at night, even in a private club?
Oh, in a private club, it's later. It's after hours.
Number 1. How are you?
Bess Myerson.
Oh, dear. Number 1, where are you from?
Originally? Cleveland.
Why did you choose London as your favorite city?
Well, it's one of my favorite cities. New York is the other.
I see. Number 2, how long did you stay in London?
I was in London 5 years altogether.
What is the theatre district called in London? Where most of the theatres are?
Soho.
And number 3, what about what's the best Italian restaurant?
Well, you could start an argument on that.
Well, what do you think it is?
Well, there's Alvaro's. There's the Trattoria Terrazza. I'd go on.
Tom Poston.
That's great. Number 3, who started the mod fashions, roughly? I mean, there's one janitor, isn't there?
You mean Mary Quant?
Yeah. And number 2, what was her actual reason for starting this? What were her designs meant to accommodate in the first place? Do you remember?
She started off strictly with bags and scarves for the younger set, and she did it just really for younger people who wanted the young look. And it caught on so fashionably that she just kept it up and improved on it.
I know, it's simply unbelievable. Now, number 1 is Chelsea, the place where this happens mostly?
Yes.
Well, where's Kensington Gardens in relation to Chelsea?
Well, that's slightly northwest.
Uh-oh, I'm confused now. If you'd said go
That's
left
it.
at the...
Time to get out and mark your ballots, if you will, without change and no consultation. While you're voting, it's time for the studio audience to vote again. Again, when I say vote, audience, select number 1, number 2, or number 3. Are you ready? Vote. So, your votes have been registered. Let's find out how the panel voted. Tom, how did you vote?
I voted for number 3. Last night, Mayor Lindsay said that some designer had come out with the very latest in mod clothes. It was the most revealing from the top, and it was the most revealing from the bottom, and it was called a belt. That's our John.
Peggy Cass.
Well, I voted... I voted for number 1. First of all, to me, she's got the most mod clothes on. Annabelle's is mostly for dancing, really, more than gambling. And I always have dinner at the White Elephant, not lunch. And Tiberio's is the best Italian restaurant.
Wham. Orson Bean.
Play your cards right, you can really draw her out. Number 2, you can see a strip show in the morning in London, all afternoon at the swings. I voted number 1 because she had a mini skirt on, at least a couple of inches above the knee, and from here it looked like even more. Thank you.
Bess Myerson.
Yes, well, number 1 seemed a little bit too well-dressed for the particular role. Number 3, I don't know. And never having gone to a strip show in London, I didn't know that you could get to see one in the morning, so I voted for number 2.
Very well, there we have it. Let's find out who got the most votes from our studio audience. Our audience voted for number 3. Very well, let's find out which of these ladies, in truth, is Piery Hollis. Will the real Piery Hollis please stand up? Well, the audience got you on that one. Didn't fool them. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My real name is Linda Perlman. I'm the president of my own advertising agency called Art Approach.
And number 2, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Pat Stewart, and I'm the current New York State tennis champion.
Well, in checking the score, ladies, you did all right. There were 1, 2, 3 incorrect votes, all coming from our panel, and that's 3 times $250 for a total of $750. And we thank you for being with us and gracing our show. Goodbye, and God bless you. We'll be back in just a minute, but right now, listen to this important message. That's all we have time for tonight's panel. Good night to you. See you tomorrow afternoon on our daytime show, of course, and we won't be on next week. But be sure to tune in 2 weeks from tonight for our final show of the To Tell the Truth nighttime series. Until then, don't forget to tell the truth. Bye.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Codman production. This is Johnny Olson speaking. Tonight's program was pre-recorded. Beach Cookbook Blender for everyday meal preparation, the perfect gift from Hamilton Beach Division of Scoville.